How can you not love that big timpani roll at the end?
Yeah, it's pretty great.
Yeah. Well, everybody, we're going to have a nice G-rated show because we have a guest today, kind of.
She's around. She can't hear us. You can swear. I can't swear.
Fuck yeah! Woo! Hi, everybody, and welcome to a Blood and Guts conceiving, Blood and Guts incubating, Blood and Guts contracting, Blood and Guts delivering. Matt, it's an episode of the Brothers of Discussion.
Woo!
With special guest, Matt's favorite child for now. Matt is having a baby maybe today, maybe yesterday, maybe tomorrow, we don't know. Anyway, we're going to talk as much as we can before Matt gives birth. We're going to talk Blood and Guts. We're going to talk WWE trimming the roster to make room for Eva Marie. Thank God. We're going to talk about Daniel Bryan moving on from WWE. Ooh. Matt, the undefeated RK Bro. That and a few other things, new baby permitting.
I'm glad you threw that in there, the RK Bro, because I was going through trying to find interesting topics for this week, and that still hit. That's still...
It's a good one. It's a good one.
So, yeah, just to recap, last night we ended our live show. I'd say early. I'd say considerably. Probably
it was the first
earliest.
Time we were under an hour. It was
the only way it could have been earlier is if we just canceled it, because all you did was get through the intro. And the story is Michelle didn't hear me talking, so you're going through the intro. So she said, oh, they haven't started yet. So she called and said, we need to go to the hospital. Now, silly me, I probably could have recorded for like another 20 minutes. But, you know, for PR reasons, I think it's good that I ran away. Because we still had to wait for her mom to get here. Because we can't just leave Addie in the house all alone. So... there were still a lot of things that needed to be done before we were going to leave. But, yeah, we actually never did end up leaving. By the time Michelle's mom got around, the contractions slowed down. And, yeah, I went to bed. And then, like, at 12:30, Michelle crawled into bed. And then I woke up the next morning. Nothing. So we never even left the house last night. Just all around Panic ensued, but we still made the safest decision.
We thought we were getting a death match, and then it was just sparklers in the corner. Yeah. So.
Yeah, pretty much. Thought there was a steel-plated floor in the entrance ramp, but instead it was cardboard.
Yeah, the mushy McDonald's play pit. They look kind of comfortable in there. Matt, where can the beautiful people find us before we dive in?
Yeah, if you want to see that other video that we made last night, you can go to our YouTube channel, The Brothers of Discussion, of course, where we cover some video games, a lot of Red Wings, a lot of pro wrestling. We're also at BOD Podcast for Twitter, at brothers_of_discussion for Instagram, and bodpodcast.com and brothersofdiscussion.com for all of your perusal of our archives and quick links. Yeah, you know what? I built the website now, Mike. I send it out after every episode, and actually, I have those scheduled, those tweets. So I had to delete those tweets this morning because we had one of our buddies, the Half K podcast, thought we put out a new episode, and we didn't. It was just the pre-scheduled.
Whoops.
Whatever. But I did redo the website now, so if you go to the pro wrestling homepage from your phone, it's just going to have all the links on the homepage of like whatever your favorite podcast provider is and the YouTube links. So it's nice and easy to navigate now. So you can go check all that out. But Mike, like you said, we have a special guest. I've got to keep an eye on her, so this might be an abbreviated version of the normal Brothers of Discussion. And plus, who knows when
we might have
another
baby of discussion.
Right.
They're just coming out, Matt. This is turning into the end of the NWO, and we just kept adding members. It's going to be about 40 people deep here. Let's start with the big news, Matt. I thought this was a joke. I thought it was the usual WWE kind of kayfabe stuff, but Daniel Bryan's contract is actually up. He's actually a free agent. He can walk. He can go. We've heard him, say some pretty nice things about Kenny Omega. We've heard him say pretty nice things about Young Bucks. We've heard him, talk pretty glowingly about the rival promotion. The only thing is, I got to think WWE is going to do everything in their power to keep this guy, including giving him one of those sweet Brock Lesnar deals where we just need you to show up like 4 times a year, if that. So, Matt, do you think that with no insight into Daniel Bryan's soul,
Right.
would he turn down a big bag of money to do periodic appearances? Or do you think in his heart of hearts, Daniel's going to want to kind of tour the indies and maybe have a cup of coffee at AEW?
I bet if anything, he would love to work it into his contract that as his career winds down, he'd like to go try some of that stuff out. But ultimately, like, he's going to look at his family and go, financially, this is the best place for my family. And when your career's winding down, right, like, talk about thinking about your family first. I mean, you don't want to go make the choice of, I don't know, possibly hurting that relationship with WWE or having them kind of shun you when you have all those opportunities for like a Legends deal and stuff like that. Like, I think we all like Daniel Bryan as like a GM and a talking head on like Talking Smack. So I think he wants to keep that relationship, or at least I'm going to say I would want to keep that relationship squeaky clean. But I think at least he has a lot of opportunity here to change. Yeah. I would also say, like you mentioned, we don't have a lot of insight into the mind of Daniel Bryan, but we do know that he thinks of others because he had a whole t-shirt line that was safer for the planet and proceeds would go to help different charities. So is there a possibility that Daniel Bryan's going to take a break from the WWE, not get paid by the WWE because he's not going to be doing anything, and allow for less people to be released? I actually had that thought last night. I think there's some merit probably to that if he were to take an extended period off. Like, Daniel Bryan might just be thinking, well, I'm not just going to steal money and get this huge contract and not work. I'll let other people work and make some money. Can you hear her in the background?
Yeah. That's okay. I have the dryer going on my set, so we got both sides covered.
We have another special guest too. Mickey Mouse is here.
Oh.
We spent a little bit on a really nice Mickey Mouse puppet, and she found a pen and she's giving him a mustache right now.
He must be heel Mickey at this point.
Yeah.
Well, I got to say that the family angle, I think, is really important to consider. Where you got to think Daniel Bryan's going to want to, support his family, and the big bag of money from WWE is probably going to be the best bag that he can get.
He likes that point.
But then I got to think WWE is also trying to passively manipulate Daniel, as they put his wife in the Hall of Fame this year and the year that his contract's going to be up. They make sure that, we got Mrs. Daniel Bryan in there. She gets her ceremony. She gets her moment. She gets to be a focal point. It sounds to me a little bit like, when John Moxley was headed out the door and they, tried to do good by him, feature prominently in the Shield.
You're on TV.
She is pumped.
She's just patting me on the back right now. It's kind of.
You guys are doing a great job. Now you have one viewer.
Yeah, she got us a like. See that?
Oh, thanks,
see that? Yeah, good job. Got us one more like than we normally get. I think like this goes back to everybody like fantasy booking. I think if we keep it in the fun realm, it's good. But just nobody get mad at Daniel Bryan when he decides to do what's best for his family.
Just go home and grow lemon trees.
It's hard for me to put myself in Daniel Bryan's shoes and to think about what it's like to be a father and to have a child. But
is that why you brought your baby into this episode, man?
Yeah, just so we can talk Daniel Bryan, so you guys could believe me.
Are you growing a lemon tree in the backyard too, Matt?
Yeah. Actually, I do want a lemon tree. I went shopping for one last year. It's very hard to take care of, I guess, at the start.
It turns out they do grow lemons and not the yellow starburst. So just want to make you aware of that.
Yeah, I do like lemons, though, for cocktails. That would be, if I did that, I think I'd start a whole nother podcast about just making different lemon-flavored cocktails.
Well, Yeah, I would like to see Daniel Bryan go to AEW. I think it would be a fascinating shift of power. I'd also like to see him seduce Samoa Joe, to join him over there. And then you just want to keep in mind that AEW's got their biggest show of the year coming up, Double or Nothing. So
that's when a contract runs out. How does the 3 month, the 90-day no work thing work? You know what I mean?
yeah, I would really like to crunch the numbers and figure out the exact day that Samoa Joe was released to figure out if he can debut at Double or Nothing. Because I believe it's May 30th.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's coming up real soon.
Oh.
Yeah, Sunday, May 30th.
Is that right? Because, wait, wasn't he working at WrestleMania?
Yeah.
Samoa Joe? How was that 90 days? That was April. Not. Okay.
No, I wasn't suggesting those 90 days. I just, wanted to crunch the numbers and see if he actually has to wait,
It would be nice if they said, like, how the 90-day thing works. If they were like, well, you haven't wrestled in 2 years, so maybe we should just let you, maybe we can waive the no-compete.
It is pretty nuts, though, that, Daniel Bryan was in the main event at WrestleMania. Samoa Joe got to help call most of the events at WrestleMania, and now both of those guys could potentially be working for the rival here in a minute.
Yeah, I think that goes along with it, too. Like, there had to be some conversation, because they threw Daniel Bryan into the WrestleMania main event, as a side dish.
Was that another one? Look, we're going to put your wife in the Hall of Fame. We're going to put you in the main event of WrestleMania.
Please,
it's a no-brainer, right? Come on.
You even talked about it leading up to WrestleMania, where he saw himself as like, I'm going to hand out victories. So I don't even think, like, I wouldn't even put that in the top of his priority list. But I mean, now that we're thinking about it and saying it out loud, it all kind of makes sense. All right, Mike. So Daniel Bryan, I'm going to say probably not out.
I'm going to say that big bag of money and periodic appearances is going to be too tough to turn down.
Most likely spot for him to land, Mike. Talking only brands. We can keep kayfabe as a part of it. So clearly SmackDown is last on the list. Where do you think he's going?
I mean, if he's actually going to stay under contract, I think that they still want to promote NXT.
Yeah, I agree.
Like 1A, 1B for Monday Night Raw. So I think that they would want to see what he can do over there. And I don't even know if he's going to wrestle, if he's just going to be, helping to promote in the back. Helping out Jason Jordan or something. But
there isn't a wrestling show on TV that I think Daniel Bryan fits in more. Like, that is the square peg of Daniel Bryan being a square peg is NXT. He honestly, if you watch AEW, that's a Chris Jericho thing. That Chris Jericho fits with that. Daniel Bryan is one of the best of all time, but he's not, I think if anything, he'd want to get further away from the sports entertainment, which NXT does a good job of that. And, we've talked about it. Like, AEW pretends they're not, but they clearly are. So, yeah, I think he fits in best with NXT, too. So, best fit, most money, keep the family safe, all that. Boom.
Yeah, I just, if we're going to start, still be keeping track of these silly Nielsen ratings. We got one comment from Amy. That little Addie needs a Lily doll. Oh, she is a precious little babe.
I always forget that when I bring her in here that I have that Fiend mask right above my shoulder. And if she sees it, what it's going to do to her. All right. Mike, Eva Marie. So Daniel Bryan out. Eva Marie in.
What a trade.
All of the silly reporting by would-be or hopeful wrestling journalists, they're wrong. Even by Mickey James' own account, that Eva Marie's been in NXT and at the Performance Center training for a long time. So this wasn't one of those things where they released a bunch of people and then brought her in. If anything, I think this is evidence of how fickle and unreliable a wrestling career can be, because they had a plan. They were, I guess maybe it's unfair to use the word bored, but they clearly they have an idea with Eva Marie, and whatever they're doing with her wasn't going to work with anybody else that they released for some reason. But that's it right there. They want to, maybe you make the argument they're doing something fresh, but that's more along the lines of where this conversation needs to go, is that this job super sucks. Like, if you're a pro wrestler, you just have to know, especially when you make it to the level of the WWE, if they decide somebody else could be bringing in a few more viewers, and even if you're not doing a bad job, that's just it's the problem of having a nonstop circus show for 365 days, or I guess I should say 52 weeks a year.
It's fascinating that, like, a lot of her heat is that she's so beautiful that I hate her. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, she's such a glamorous, gorgeous woman. Just like every centimeter of her is just sculpted to look like like an ideal for that kind of performance. Yeah. And so I think people want to root against her. She's got she's going to be such a great bad guy for this division of women who all of them can go now. And now you're going to have her teleport in and, from a previous era where we didn't care as much about, your work rate. So if we find out that she's been in NXT learning how to wrestle and she's so beautiful, I hate her heat, and now she can actually defend herself, Matt, this could be a pretty big money opportunity for WWE.
Yeah.
And for Eva, of course. Yeah.
And I think it's important, too, to remember that whenever anybody gets a job at WWE, somebody else didn't get a job. So that's happened when I'm not... I guess what I'm saying is I'm not mad at Mickie James when she did that. I'm not mad at anybody that's on the roster right now for doing that. So you can't really hold... it's not like Eva Marie would turn down a contract and money to be a pro wrestler to do this. So you could still be mad at, the industry. You can be mad at WWE and pro wrestling for how this works and how your favorite gets, put in some sort of limbo, and now they're terrified because they don't know what's next for their career. That does super suck. But, I guess the long story short is this wasn't my first pick. I wouldn't have looked back at the catalog of pro wrestlers I've seen and said, man, I can't wait for Eva Marie to come back. But along those lines, you can't get mad at her for coming in. I just that's the long and short of it. I think. Yeah.
I think if she's actually going to come back and wrestle, the bar for her is crazy high. We just saw WrestleMania with Sasha Banks and Bianca Belair, and they're like, "Yeah, now's the time to bring back Eva Marie." Like, whoa, right now? Maybe wait till a few people get injured. And then I would say, because she's tried to get her name out there for movies and TV shows. And it's we just saw Bad Bunny, maybe the greatest celebrity wrestler of all time, bring the house down at WrestleMania and have, maybe the best match of the whole weekend. So this, again, we're going to have a celebrity, and we're going to have, this female wrestler who's not a wrestler try to come in that wake. Man, I'm kind of excited to see what she's been working on at NXT for them to be now's the perfect time. Boom! Let's drop her right in.
I'm gonna say interested, right? Isn't that's the worst sit on the fence word? I'm gonna go with interested right now, though. Yep. You see that all the time on Twitter, and I'm gonna take a stab at it. I'm gonna see how I feel about using it, because I'm already kind of down on WWE right now, and if anything, I want to go full why don't we just go full-time NXT and Dynamite? But
we're almost there. Raw was a real slog this week.
Holy crap! We.
You talk about just microwaving food
leftovers
from WrestleMania. Yeah, they've been miking that stuff for weeks now, Matt. It's the same feuds.
So
when is Damian Priest going to get away from Morrison and Miz?
I will eat leftovers for a long time, and to the point normal people look at it, or my wife actually has stories of she'll watch me, she'll be on the phone with somebody and say he's eating something that's 3 weeks old right now.
White Castles don't go bad. I don't know why you keep judging me for that.
Exactly. The only thing is, I don't know if any of these were White Castles. You know what I mean? Like, it seems more like we did, like vegetables can go after 2 days. If nobody's eating them, I'm putting them in the garbage. So there's no leftover vegetables that are getting in the microwave for me.
This pepper's not 100% crisp. Toss it. White Castle 3 weeks old. I'm in.
I looked at, we had to like scramble last night to like leave. And part of that was, and like I said, we didn't actually leave, but part of that was taking our food that we'd eaten earlier and thrown it in the fridge. And I looked at it this morning, and really it's mostly snap peas and broccoli and carrots. I'm just like, nobody's going to eat this. This is garbage. I'm just saving garbage for later. All right. Mike, not garbage, though. Pretty hot. I liked it. This is Roman Reigns' new entrance music.
Oh, yeah. They're double down on the tribal chief. Yeah, they kind of epic chanting, and yeah, it was intimidating stuff.
I didn't like the roller coaster that we got, because the moment it happened, people were all on board. And then the next day I saw tweets from some writers that I like that said, nobody's brave enough to say this, but that song sucks. First of all, Mike, our episode title today is Why Does AEW Not Suck? And really, that is one of the worst, most lazy words to use in journalism and writing. It's just to say sucks. But it most certainly does not. It does not suck. I think he sells it. The pageantry of it, the pace that he takes to the ring. I mean, that is one of the most cinematic feels we have to a WWE entrance song. And I how many times have I said over the last, COVID era that I want more cinematic feel to everything about my pro wrestling? And my big fear is that when we get away from what we're doing now, it's all going to go away. So more Roman Reigns entrance music like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's so weird they used the only one that got stuck with the Shield music. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Even like DX disbanded, they all had their own songs, and poor Roman got stuck, with the original, bottom. So this definitely feels like it was overdue for Roman to get a little bit of a reboot here, since I think Seth Rollins is on his 5th iteration of his song.
Yeah.
Let's give Roman a shot. And I think what this, the music is supposed to do is kind of tell the character story. You see them visually, appear on the ramp. You hear the music hit, you see the lights behind him, and in 30 seconds, if you've never seen Roman Reigns before, you should be able to kind of understand who he is, where he's coming from. And as much as those staccato power chords, you could kind of see a tough guy was coming down. Now you kind of get a little bit of depth to him, about his origin, and I'm in. I like it a lot.
Yeah. Me too. I challenge everyone to not hate everything they see in pro wrestling. And while I'm going to sit here and totally agree with you that Monday Night Raw was, I mean, what? I tweeted the first hour and 10 minutes, and then I texted you and said, I can't.
I mean, I admired my own endurance to make it into hour 2.
I couldn't. When I saw that you were tweeting at 11 o'clock Eastern time for Monday Night Raw, I just... hats off.
Yeah, just
that little kid who was watching Derek Jeter's last game.
I appreciate the effort. Like they said, we're gonna have a WWE Championship match, and it was Braun versus Bob, and I'm like, great, And then Drew's music hits, and we're all like, well, we know how this is gonna end, and sure enough, Drew interfered, no contest, nobody really won. Champion gets to leave, and a moment after that, they're like, guess what? Next week, Bobby versus Drew, championship match. There's no drama in that. We all know that Braun is coming in. It's written. It's written in ink. Permanent Sharpie. There's no way that match ends clean. None. The way that back to back, because we're gonna talk AEW here, not sucking. They had their Blood and Guts show, right, on Wednesday. Yeah. But a week before that, they started promoting Nagata going against Jon Moxley. A couple weeks. It's not even going to take place on Blood and Guts. So we know Blood and Guts is coming. We're getting you excited for that. We're putting everybody on that card, cutting a promo, the week before. It was a killer show to get you all geared up. But then they're also getting you ready for 2 weeks from then. and then they're still trying to get you primed and ready for Double or Nothing. So they're still just setting the stage weeks and weeks in advance to get you like, man, Blood and Guts is over. But man, I can't wait to see that Mox, New Japan invasion. This is going to be great. And Raw is like, well, we know you just saw somebody interfere in a championship match, so now we're going to switch those chairs up, and, those dance partners are going to reset a little bit, but same old ending next week. Boo, boo, boo. All right, another episode in the can. End. Yeah.
It really is to call back to this needs to either be 2 hours long or we need to take some time off like New Japan does, because it's always good for the wrestlers to have like time off. These conversations of Daniel Bryan's contract aren't as important, I would say. I think he just has his time off and they pick him up later.
It's almost like Daniel Bryan watched Raw and said, I need some time off.
Yeah, exactly.
This is too much.
And how juiced would we get? I'd be way more excited. Like you start up the NHL season. So the Red Wings are playing their last 2 games this weekend. When you restart the season, no matter how much I know they're going to suck next year, I'm still super psyched. So let me take a break. I don't need it to feel like I need to make an announcement or we need to change our show and go, all right, we're taking a break for Monday Night Raw. Why can't that just be organic? Why can't there just be a break? That's
yeah. And I mean, in our Red Wings show, obviously it's because the Red Wings are so bad this year, but, we've been focusing on the offseason and free agency and trading and drafting. This might be another spot if WWE just finally takes like a little hiatus. We're still going to watch it, like The Simpsons, South Park, they take breaks. We still come right back when episode 1 is starting. Sports takes a break. We still come back every year to watch game 1. This could be a spot where even the Daniel Bryan story, that could be like, his contract's up. Obviously, maybe not with Daniel because he might actually leave. But for guys who are still signed,
yeah, they'll take
could,
notes.
Do a kayfabe off season.
Yeah, it
Recruiting.
only makes too much sense. All right, so Mike, is it time for the fun part of the show where we talk about our favorite wrestling programs?
Yeah, and we should probably focus a little bit more on Blood and Guts.
I will say I spent my time. I watched as much of I did fast forward through a lot of the first hour of Dynamite. So apparently I was just like the people that attended the show, since they had a big cage in the way of the big screen that was playing the first hour of Dynamite rather than.
I gotta tell you, my least favorite gimmick type match is the cage match, because they have still not figured out a way to get the camera to show the match without you kind of having to duck and dodge, dip, dive, and dodge again around that chain link fence. It just never looks good on TV. You miss a lot of spots. The one thing that I worry for the wrestler's safety when they climb on top of the cage, but I'm also relieved because I know we're going to be able to see what's going on because there's no stupid cage in the way. The Blood and Guts match itself, I thought the build-up to getting all 10 guys in the ring was fantastic. I thought FTR did a really great job, donning the crimson masks, Sammy Guevara, being the brave one, volunteering, as tribute for the, coming out first, on behalf of the Inner Circle. But one thing is, it was like they maybe in the production, like before that match, they had a few promos, like Kenny Omega came out, Cassidy came out, cut some stuff, for future matches. But like with 15 minutes to go, all the wrestlers were in the match. And I swear Jericho looked at the camera and said, how much time? Oh, man. Because they had to kill 15 minutes to get to the finish. And it was great. Like when everybody was entering, and then there was that great Avengers Endgame Portals moment, where the 5-on-5 face each other before they clash, in the middle of the two rings. But after they got a couple of those spots out, it was kind of like you could see them. Well, what should we try now? I mean, that's that.
Yeah, I think I think in the grand scheme, like, you can cut this match down at some point and put it on AEW's YouTube channel and make it look a lot better. It had the big spots. Obviously, the ending I still liked, and we'll talk about that in a second. But absolutely, that was a let's hit the 10 seconds on the fast forward. Fast forward 10 seconds here to get through a minute of this of everybody trying to figure out what they're going to do next. I will say, for everybody concerned about the ratings, every Wednesday night and Thursday night, and for Raw and SmackDown, don't worry about that. DVR it, watch it the next day, because you get through those rest holds lickety split. I mean, for all the love that we have to make sure that people are selling properly, I know what's happening when I hit fast forward 10 seconds. I definitely don't need to see them when I have that ability. So it made it easier to watch.
I don't know what this rest hold is that you're referring to. That's a legitimate submission that could end a match at any time, man. So.
What's in there? Yeah. Did you
Is
put all my stuff away?
Is this the Brothers of Discussion rest hold here, Matt? What's going on?
Yeah, that's it couldn't have been better timing.
An audible rest hold by Adeline over there?
Yeah, she's putting all my stuff away. That doesn't, let's just say that's not where it goes. So Matt's going to have to do some hunting later. But it's good. She's got something to do while we're doing this.
Did you feel like in Blood and Guts that of people who really needed to shine, I got to say Wardlow and probably Sean Spears. And I thought Wardlow did it. And I thought Sean Spears actually did himself a service. I felt like he looked... I felt like he actually looked, like a character I want to see in coming weeks ahead. And he's had such a hard time doing that.
I think it at least started to open my eyes as to what the faction was like. Who's this really going to help? Because the way that Inner Circle was selling their opponent, I kind of started to think just like them. Like, they did such a good job with promos the last few weeks. I was like, yeah, what is this dumb faction? MJF just does all the talking. Who cares? But then I think this was it. This was that coming out. It was pro wrestling. Like, it made me feel stupid for everything that I'd been doing, judging the amount of factions, the fact that they thought they needed to make another one. But this one does look like it's going to do a world of good for everybody involved. And I if anything, this is just me admitting, I'm a big dum-dum, and that I think this could just act as it can't be a coming out party, because everybody's had their individual opportunities, but I hope that they start to spread around more of a story. Really, you could make the argument for both of those factions that there's something for each one of those guys to tell. But I think this might be that best opportunity to start doing it. And just like we've compared to regular primetime TV all the time. Maybe The Office started to suck at season 6, but they knew that they had to start telling stories about Kevin and Angela and, get more in depth with Dwight. So at some point, we can't just focus on Michael Scott and Chris Jericho and hope that everybody else just falls in line. And MJF, we got to let everybody else start telling stories. So then those interactions between MJF and his buddies and Chris Jericho and his buddies are more meaningful. So that's what I pulled from it, from their performance. But I would admit too, it looked good. It's still not what I'm going to remember from this match, and really I'm only going to remember the last few minutes.
I think it's because Jericho is basically the Thor, right? He gets all the funny lines, he gets all the big hero shots. You get to see Sammy Guevara getting the Spider-Man hero treatment now. At some point, Sean Spears, he's got to get his WandaVision, I think. Let's kind of see what we can get out of this guy, because we know he's a great coach. We know he's a great teacher. We know how highly regarded he is by his peers, but it doesn't ever feel like they give him a real story to chew on. Yeah. So I'm hoping that eventually he gets his Winter Soldier, he gets his WandaVision, and he kind of gets his time to tell his story and make that AEW money. I want to see some Sean Spears, some swag on pro wrestling tees, and I also want to see those. I don't know what they like, prison onesies. Matt, do you want a prison onesie from ProWrestlingTees.com?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, support your local penitentiary. Yeah.
I do feel bad right now because I wore my Dexter Loomis T-shirt last night, and now I couldn't find it this morning. So we're not.
It was in the. It's probably in the trash. Did you look in the trash?
Shoot! All right, I'll pull it out for next week. I'll pull it out of the.
Don't forget your Adam Cole Bebe T-shirt.
She did find that last week, and even though she cried the first time she saw it, she looked at it and said, baby. So that was kind of cute because it can kind of sound like Bebe. So she's getting there with it.
See if you can get her little fingers up for Bebe. What about the rest of the Blood and Guts card? I guess we could kind of get into our top 3 moments. You want to do that?
Yeah, the Festival of Friendship.
Yeah, now that the rating war is over, they're on different nights now, which Bleacher Report does not acknowledge. They still do a ratings war story every week. But yeah, I'm going to give you, because we gave kind of the lion's share of discussion at AEW. I'll bat first for moment number 3. Matt, it's I can't not include this on the list. It's Mox and Kingston defeating Nakazawa and Kenny Omega. It's moment number 3, and it would have been moment number 1 if it was a real tag team match. It was like 15, 20 minutes. But instead, there were some shenanigans. The bell didn't even ring. And then, of course, poor Nakazawa gets to eat the defeat. In the aftermath, we saw the Good Brothers and the Young Bucks and other folks come out, all of them in terrible hats and swim gear, just to come out and pummel Kingston and Moxley. We got more of one of my favorite little details of Eddie Kingston trying in vain to rescue a prone, isolated, just getting trampled Moxley. Like a kind-hearted Samaritan, trying to rescue an abused puppy at the animal shelter. It's one of my favorite things going, and at some point, it looks like this tag team is just to kind of perpetuate what's going on with Kenny Omega, the Bucks, and the Good Brothers. But at some point, my God, please give these guys a legitimate shot at the tag titles. It would be the most fun ever. I really hope we get that. If you liked Omega and Hangman, oh my God, just wait till you see the promos that Eddie and Mox are going to put together. But yeah, that's my moment number 3.
Well, I threw together my 3-2-1 real quick here, and I realized that I'm going to go probably in reverse order of everybody else that watched NXT, but I'm going to do it, Mike. Number 3, the Way defeating Ember Moon and Shotzi Blackheart to win the NXT Women's titles. The only reason that this is getting a 3 and my number 2 and number 1 are in their positions, I would say probably has to go with personal preference on my number 2 of just being like 4 of my favorite guys in the ring together. So you guys can take a guess at what that is. And I think this was a little rushed. I think maybe I'm a little bit of a hypocrite because I just was talking about how much I hate rest holds and how long they last.
Those are submission moves. I don't know why you keep calling them rest holds.
Right. I'm sorry. So sometimes the submission moves.
You can tell it's a lot of effort because there's like big deep breaths while there's,
Right. So while I'm taking my deep breath while they're huffing and puffing, and I fast forward a little bit. This is so weird. My neighbor is like using one of my neighbors 2 houses down and is using my next door neighbor's lawnmower. He keeps driving past and he's not mowing my neighbor's lawn. I don't know. This is weird. I keep watching him drive back and forth. Anyways, where was I? Yeah, okay. So this did just kind of seem like let's give everybody a spot. They were all fantastic spots, and this could easily get the argument for number 1. But I think number 1 was probably match of the week this week for me on NXT. And again, I'm a little bit I'm siding with 4 of my favorite wrestlers at number 2. But Mike, this is still in my top 3 because this is Candice LeRae's first title. When I saw that, I couldn't. Like, it kind of blew my mind. And then you kind of figure, like, why are they... I think a while back we asked why would they add an NXT Tag Championship. I think it's because of this. It's because the likes of Candice LeRae just for whatever reason, I don't know if they trust her to sell the NXT Women's Championship yet. The same way that they see what Raquel could do, and they immediately were like, all right, well, she's getting an opportunity to be at Rhea Ripley, and then she's going to be, at Stand and Deliver's main event, and taking down Io. And obviously they gave Candice those opportunities. And I think if we looked at, regardless of the body of work and just looked at the story you can tell based on their body sizes, I think it's a little different from the story they've been telling with Io for the last little while is what they can tell with Raquel. So all that wrapped together goes back into talk about Candice LeRae, right?
Yeah.
But I also enjoy that how much they're giving Indy Hartwell in this too with her victory. I guess I have it in my notes here, the little recap. So she's involved in NXT's top faction. She's holding gold, and she has her very own storyline with Dexter Lumis right now. And an amazing segment I thought before that was sort of who's the black and white comedy actor with the little mustache?
Chaplin?
Yeah. It was like Chaplin-esque, where Dexter Lumis is in the corner of the women's locker room looking through the blinds, which is pretty perverted. But it was
more like Porky's and not Charlie Chaplin.
Everybody was
on this one. Yeah.
It was him looking at Indy, and the whole time Candice is trying to distract Indy from looking at this door where Dexter's peeking through, because clearly he wants to let Indy know that he cares about her, but he's, for whatever reason, his character doesn't speak, so it's like they're treating it like he's shy. But while he's peering through and trying to get Indy's attention, Candice is distracting Indy, and then eventually she's like closing the blinds, and it was cute. It was. I know probably the setting was the worst thing for Dexter to be peeking through the blinds, but also who puts blinds on a locker room? So clearly it was just a set, and just for that stage. Anyhoozles, good on Candice, good on Indy. I did like one of my points here. Everything was very safe, and I'm a fan of that. There were a lot of big spots. Shotzi jumping off from a little. I can't even describe it right now. But anyway, she got some height on a thing that I've never seen before at an NXT taping. So clearly it was put there so she could do that. And I like that. I like that they can put things that look like they're supposed to be a part of the set, but really it's just there. It's super safe. And then Shotzi's just jumping onto the table to crush everybody, which we all know is pretty it's a nice, safe landing. So I think we didn't really touch on it with Blood and Guts, but it can still be exciting and safe, and nobody dies. So A+. Mike, you're number 2.
Well, with number 2, it's you can't have her have a segment and it somehow doesn't crack the top 3. Matt, DMD, Britt Baker. She got a squash match against Julia Hart. I don't think any relation to Nettie, but the story was Julia's she's had a few espressos. I wouldn't call them a whole cup of coffee, just kind of a shot of espresso on AEW Dark. And so she's getting her big opportunity to prove herself against, the top of the division, win-loss wise, as Britt is quick to remind us. She came out, didn't get a whole lot of offense in. Baker kind of just crushed her. She was ready to strap the glove on roughly 60 seconds in. We haven't seen. I don't even think Mr. Sacco was on that quickly in his long storied career. But Baker, the story is just about continuing to build. What's going to be just a monster threat to Shida at some point. Looks like Double or Nothing is when they're going to get their payoff for the title. And the way that Baker is just allowed to keep padding the wins. When she's allowed to show dominion, and kind of mean mug for the camera. She had a big tongue waggling moment, while she was triumphant again. It's exciting. I like to watch them, push somebody to the moon, to borrow a little Cameron Grimes catchphrase there. So yeah, I'm excited to see how this pays out. I'm excited to see, Double or Nothing, where Baker, I think, I think finally Cheetah is going to get a loss here, and it'll feel deserved. And I don't think that either superstar is going to look bad coming out of that outcome.
I know Barstool is doing their own betting. Does Bleacher Report have their own sports book? Because I know they have a better relationship with AEW than anybody. I would say
are the betting odds for Baker.
I was gonna say I'd put my whole life savings on Dr. Britt Baker becoming champ. I think
I think we're ready.
I think they're ready to go.
I think he's proved enough, and I think we've seen enough of the violence she's willing to sacrifice and damage she's willing to sacrifice, and yeah, it's going to be a hell of a match. We really hope that the women get 15, 20 minutes to tell the story. I hope it's not a 10-minute rush. But we've seen what they did with Thunder Rosa and Britt, so maybe some of that length time-wise. But Matt, moment number 2 for next Extra Time Wrestling.
I'm going. If I didn't sell it enough, I'm going with Ciampa and Thatcher taking out the grizzled young vets. Thatcher lays down the Fujiwara armbar after knocking out Zach Gibson with a shoe. So they're really trying to sell the "if you hate Gibson" shoes off, and I'm fine with that. Again, last week we talked about, I don't know why wrestling Twitter was so upset that they would use a chant for Zach Gibson to try and help sell Zach Gibson and hating him. He's a bad guy. Let's do something. People aren't going to get engaged. Let's try something. Anyway, so they're really selling that. I would have honestly thought that this is going to be a one-off to help the grizzled young vets get back in the tag team title conversation. What this tells me, especially with the use of the shoe, is that this is going to be a long-standing feud. And I could not be happier because I love both of these tag teams. They're doing a great job of, building each other up and tearing each other down. They have amazing quips going back and forth. I should have taken more notes on what they were saying, but you guys have to check this out. If this is going to be a long-standing, non-title feud for the tag team division in NXT, we're all going to be better for it. And this match was everything I could have wanted. And especially, again, when I go in expecting a win for the grizzled young vets and kind of having that thought process of if I don't get this, I'm actually going to be upset. And just the way that they did it. So it tells me they're taking the time to book this properly. And again, if I'm getting more of those 4 in the ring together, there's not an inch of me that's going to be sad. So go check that match out, guys. And the whole time I'm thinking, I can't wait for these guys to have a fight pit match. We could get a tag team fight pit out of this, Mike. I wouldn't have told you, Mike, that Zach Gibson is, I don't. Just a counter machine. The way that Thatcher lines up the submissions and the counters and really creates, it looks like he's creating in the ring at the time to get submissions in there. Gibson was right there with them, and seeing those two in the ring together was some fantastic submission wrestling. My office is getting torn apart now, so that's probably a good time to jump into the dishonorable mentions. Mike, you want to hit up AEW?
I thought you were going to say Eddie was trying to earn a dishonorable mention for destroying your office. But I will say that dishonorable mention this week, I'm going to go with SCU winning the 4-way to fight the Young Bucks at Double or Nothing, for the tag team titles. I'm not against SCU. It's just the guys winning are, I think Frankie Kazarian is 43, and then Christopher Daniels is 51. We just saw, I got my moment number 1 coming here in a moment. They're featuring MJF prominently. Yeah. If, Jurassic Express was going to win, that's Luchasaurus at 36 and Jungle Boy at 23. So, those guys are going to have more opportunities to be up top because, they're both really good talents. It's just, I don't know if I need to see SCU at the biggest AEW pay-per-view of the year. Two of the older guys, on the roster, going up in a match where they have no shot. there's no way that the Young Bucks are going to be losing those titles anytime soon. So maybe that's what they're going for, to like not make assets that are held in such high regard as Jurassic Express, not make them, thrown to the slaughter. But I just think the rooting interest to be a lot more obvious. SCU's kind of been gray, where Jurassic Express has been mega babyface, and we know the Bucks are definitely doubling down as being the piece of shit heels. So I just think it would have been an easier rooting interest. I think it would have been a more compelling match. It would have been a better youth movement. But we know SCU's not going to be around. They don't have as much time as Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus are going to have. So maybe that's what they're gunning for. But not the decision I would have went with.
This is a good time to remind everybody that she can't hear what Mike's saying.
Yeah, so she couldn't hear me say the S word like shit or the F word like fuck. Moment number one, man. Maybe it's just because I'm a mark for this guy, but I'm as discouraged as I was by that 4-way tag team turnout. They're teasing that Kenny Omega is going to fight Pac or Orange Cassidy for his title at Double or Nothing. As far as like kind of featuring guys in that kind of mid 30 range and younger, I'm really excited to see Cassidy kind of prove himself. Even if he doesn't win, he's still going to be going toe to toe with Pac to decide if he's the number one contender. And Pac is probably pound for pound my favorite wrestler to just watch. I think he puts on like the best matches of I don't know, maybe anybody right now, with the aggression in his offense, with the salesmanship of his, defense. I'm just thoroughly entertained every time he's in the ring. So for him to essentially give the rub to Cassidy by even, entertaining this number one contenders match. And Amy from the Peanut Gallery over here, Orange Casserole. No, not Orange Casserole, Orange Cassidy. I'm going to never not think of him as Orange Casserole now. Thank you, Amy. I'm very excited for that payoff. And even if he doesn't end up fighting Omega, just pumped that they're at that point in AEW's career as a promotion where they're going to entertain the idea. So I like the promo. I like the hint of it. I like Omega being super dismissive of the idea. And then we'll see how it plays out.
What do you think about Bully Ray saying that he wishes the Impact Heavyweight Championships were featured more prominently around either Kenny Omega's waist or over his arms, because he feels like they're underselling everything?
Oh, I just think there's a time and a place for it. I don't know. The idea is just to show him showered in gold, not necessarily to show the Impact one. I get where he's saying that, if we're going to say Impact is invading, Impact now kind of runs AEW, to lean on that. But I think it's more about the man himself. It's more about Omega appearing everywhere, not the championship appearing everywhere. It's not about, DiCaprio holding the Oscar. It's DiCaprio's in the room, so yeah, right. I'm not on board with that point.
My dishonorable mention is just for the timekeeper for NXT, and like I mentioned before, it felt like Shotzi and Ember Moon and the Way needed a little bit more time. They clearly were rushing that thing to get it done, and they went overtime too, which they've done a pretty good job in NXT of not doing that. So clearly they needed more time. So maybe it was just too loaded of a card. And I don't know, like, as much as I love Cameron Grimes, he got 2 segments, and I think one would have done it. Maybe the LA Knight thing can go, because that also did nothing for me too. So there's another dishonorable mention. We're catching up, Mike. All the dishonorable mentions I left behind in past episodes. All right. Number 1 NXT segment of the night, Mike. Isaiah Swerve Scott defeating Leon Ruff in a Falls Count Anywhere match. Mike, this is one of the best openings to an NXT episode ever, because it was so surprising to get all this time for that match, and they told such a great story. And yes, I tweeted out, as excited as everybody is to say what a great way to open this show, they did earn it. And they earned it by having these guys fight each other for such a long time and tell this story of how like the frustrations they've had with each other, the hatred building. There was some mutual respect at some point, but now that, even looking back, it was kind of not real, like they were just kind of playing each other. But yeah,
I like that. Yeah.
They
just kind of playing each other,
Yeah.
Hey, buddy, I really respect you. Yeah.
As much as I already don't think I'm a wordsmith, it's even harder to think of words when I've got my baby girl here finding pens.
Yeah, what's on her hands? Is it Velcro? My God, she's bringing the whole studio down. Jesus.
I know. But yeah, the end of this match, the crew had Leon Ruff hitting the crucifix bomb into a poison Rana off the apron, and I mean that spot was fantastic, and it tells you all the reasons that Leon Ruff gets the TV time. But then they gave Isaiah a faction at the end of the night. So AJ Francis, who everybody, I don't watch the A&E shows where they go look for old WWE memorabilia.
See, you just upset Eddie, Matt.
I know.
You gotta watch more of it.
I gotta watch those shows. But everybody said that's where this guy's from. So they're setting up a faction with Swerve. So clearly they see there's more on that side of the table. But I mean, just another spot I like to for this, and I can't forget, is this toolbox tossing, as I put in the notes. It wasn't just that; it was that Swerve put his whole being into throwing this toolbox, and they set it up great and booked it so that there was no chance of Leon Ruff getting hit. But then his face after dodging the toolbox, it was amazing. It was a great use of a toolbox, and it was much better. I'm sure everybody can not hear me now. It was much better than when The Fiend and Seth Rollins introduced the toolbox. I'm going to wrap up because she's getting angry at me. So everybody, that's our friendship festival. Oh my gosh. There you go, sweetie. And we're going to sail off. I'm going to go make her some lunchies. Sorry for wrapping up. We can get under an hour. Check us out, bodpodcast.com, brothersofdiscussion.com. And Mike, thanks for doing this midday. Hopefully, we'll just have.
Hopefully, I don't get fired.
Going forward.
Here we go.
All right. Good luck.
All right.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.